The more you need to be seen, the less you see yourself. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs to be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. 3 things you'll discover today: how external validation distorts your vision, why attention addiction hides deeper wounds, and what to do when you feel unseen. We'll begin with a quote. The more you need to be seen, the less you see yourself. This is screaming at a form of paradox within the need for anything. Now, very fundamentally, there are facts to life. Whereas plants need sun, plants need water. Same thing goes for humans, yeah? So there are fundamental facts. And then there are psychological distortions. And the need to be seen, in other words, is a desire for attention. And if you want attention, it's kind of like the quote where if you chase butterflies, they run away. So you have to approach the attraction of butterflies from a different level of consciousness, which is, oh, I'm going to put the flowers in the garden that the butterflies fundamentally are attracted to, right? A lot different from wishing or hoping or desiring butterflies. No, you understand there is a action. That action has a context of harmony, seeing that the butterfly has certain interests. The butterfly has a specific nature in itself. So do you. So do all humans. So when you're when you're wanting to be seen, you're radiating a vibration which is a bit needy. And a lot of humans, for example, me, egotistically, I don't like to be told what to do. I mean, now, that doesn't mean you can't recommend something to me, but what comes into being in this moment is it's not so much the message, but how the message is delivered. So if you need Justin Egliskis to do something for you, it's so much about the energy in which you communicate to me than the details of the favor you may be asking. So it's, this obsession with control. But when you let go of control, then you start to see yourself. And the need to be seen is a expectation almost that you can control others, that you want. It's in operating from a place of weakness, where the other end, the intelligence, is the holistic capacity to get the totality. And that is to, rather than say, I want butterflies, to seek to understand the butterfly. So if you can look at what part of yourself is wanting to be seen, and you can inquire, you can question, you can bring skepticism into what is happening that's creating this want to be seen, then you'll get layers unraveled, unveiled to you. Whereas, fundamentally, the psychology of a human being, a lot of it starts from ages 0 to 7. So, for example, someone could have this insecurity or a shyness. It comes in many different forms, this need to be seen. And if you can question why you're operating, how you're operating, unraveling and observing the relationship of your past experiences, then you'll be able to be clear in terms of where the root was derived from initially. Now, the process of getting to the root can be rigorous. So we need to have a scientific level of precision, not in the form of analyzing, but in the form of observing. The discernment between analysis and observation is that analysis comes to conclusions and creates judgments, whilst discernment is a courageous and open-minded process where your inner child is being invited to show itself. Another word or label for the inner child could be the subconscious mind. As your subconscious mind is no longer hidden beneath layers because you're bringing conscious awareness and attention into the map. If you ever see a underground tunnel or a train area, forgive me for the lack of precision in this context, the subway, you know, it's like a spider's web. Or when you look at nature, you know the roots of the trees are connecting more than you can see on the surface. It's that theme right there. It's the theme that also, when you see how Earth helps us a lot in understanding ourselves, because a human being is a seed of intelligence, the same intelligence which created the entire planet and the entire cosmos. So you can understand yourself as a human being by looking at nature. When you stick that shovel into the dirt, then you notice that the worms come up, right? But the question is really, if you didn't stick the shovel in the dirt, are the worms still there? And obviously the answer is yes. Same thing goes for everything that you think yourself to be. The identities that you may hold, the beliefs that you may perpetuate onto others, the things in your life that create the view, the perspective of reality, right? The game as a human being is really to see yourself and to understand the truth of what you are. You're going to have to go through a lot of layers. But I remember learning when I was younger about the core of Earth. And essentially, the theme, the structure was that there are a bunch of layers, right? Same thing would go for your skin, right? The human being, the organs, the blood cells, the atoms which create the blood cells. It's this sort of curiosity, openness, and detailed rigor that leads you to understanding, to seeing yourself. And let's hop into how external validation distorts your vision. If the main point here is that we're understanding what we are, and we're beginning with a need to be seen, that need to be seen, external validation, seeking external validation, is a great link between, all right, what's the need to be seen? It's a bit metaphorical. External validation is quite practical. Now, this means it's actually a beautiful paradox, whereas if everyone in your external world is confirming something to you, meaning that you time and time again see that there's a problem and you're the common denominator, right? In other words, you are the main source. Common denominator is something that really doesn't change, if you will. That means that if you have a problem in all of your relationships, in certain areas of your life, if there's a similar problem arising in your career, in your family life, and in your psyche, can we look at it? Can we drop the need for others to understand us so that we can understand ourselves? So, the relationship between the external validation and the distortion of your vision is that you begin to live from a place which isn't true, a place of letting the false guide you. Meaning that a lot of humans are just as confused and distorted as you may be. And you do not know how little or how much internal understanding another being has unless you really have it. Because then you see that it's evident and it's irrefutable. Now, the only way you can understand that in another is first seeing it in yourself. And there isn't anything necessarily wrong with external validation. As in, if you have certain relationships that go one way and then certain connections that go another way, then you're not so much seeking external validation because that is a obvious outcome of you being at least somewhat who you are. Because that means, let's say you show up in the same way everywhere. That may have a hint of trying to fit in, trying to please others. But then there's a balance of meeting another where they're at. So the question that arises is really, how do you not sacrifice your heart and still learn to be in alignment with the external world? The pitfalls here are sort of a insecurity which drives you to be small and fit in, or a pride which creates a need to control others, and then therefore you're perpetuating weakness onto others and yourself because they are you and you are them. So the point is really that if everyone in the world, if everyone is kind of sending you a certain energy, you probably need to look at your relationship to yourself. How you're moving through the world, how you're speaking, how you're thinking of yourself, the actions that you do, and the feelings that you create via the actions. But if your entire life seems to be a bit unique and spontaneous, meaning you have a problem in one relationship, but you don't have a problem in every relationship. You have something unpleasant arise mechanically with your car, but the mechanics of your business are working good. Then that is hinting at something much different, that you're actually doing okay. So the takeaway from how external validation distorts your vision is really, if everything you do is for external validation, your vision is going to get corrupted. But if you're ignoring the external world, your vision will also be corrupted. So how can you create that fine line of listening to others, paying attention to the world, whilst not being sucked into it? That's the question. Now, why attention addiction hides deeper wounds? So we're almost going in reverse here. But the only way to understand your deeper wounds is to place attention on oneself. And a lot of us, that is the hardest thing to do. To look at ourselves, to ask the real nitty, gritty, deeper questions that unveil the stem and then the root. If you have a certain attitude, that's sort of the blossom or the dead leaf. But the attitude, the blossom, the dead leaf, still needs questioning to get to the branch and the stem to get to the root. So if you're addicted to placing your attention on distraction, on gossip, on judgment of yourself, on all the things in this world that you can distract yourself with, the list is big. You will not look at the roots of why you see the world the way you see it. You won't look at the relationship between your actions and your states of being. And if you do not get clear on the micro relations of what you are as a human being, how would you ever get clear on the macro, the deeper ones? Micro, small, macro, big. Now, what to do when you feel unseen? And this, right? If you feel unseen, the answer is within what I've already been sharing with you. Feeling unseen is probably a distorted fruit of a broken place inside of you. You don't need to feel seen. You need to create the awareness of why you don't feel seen. Because that in itself will allow for you to see. It's not that you need, because again, you cannot control other people. If someone has not done the work to truly listen to you compassionately, you are not doing the work by reacting or judging them for not being what you need. The tough part of life is realizing that no one will ever be exactly what you need, so you need to be what you need for yourself. And if you are operating from that clarity for yourself, then you can share it with the world. And when you share it for the world, you will find that the people who are ready to learn and listen to themselves will show up in your life. It won't always be easy. It will not always be easy. Life would be stale if everything was easy. That's a reminder for me, for you, for anyone whose life seems like it is not perfect. Who'd have thought? Yeah. It's okay. Now, by taking the time to listen to this, by me taking the time to speak this, I already feel such a shift in my life. And I'm sure that some of you can feel it too. And it is this, time and time again, getting down to the simplicity of what you love to do. So with that, I'll leave you. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you taking the time, the attention, the energy to connect here with me. Share it with someone who you know will get some fruit from this recording. And if you'd like to work one-on-one, get physically in amazing shape, unravel any emotional turmoil, and free yourself from whatever it may be that seems to be sucking the energy from you. If any of that aligns, just shoot me an email. Sign up for the emails down below. You'll get a couple a week. We'll speak soon. Let's go.